What's going on, everybody? It's Bo and Alex back. Yes, I did say his name. Alex is going to be joining me today. And honestly, it's one of my favorite evenings to break down a DFS golf slate for the week. Honestly, I just love watching golf, and I'm glad I was actually able to coerce Alex to join me here today because if you don't know something about him, he definitely likes talking about real topics and not fantasy. But I got him in the house. Alex, thanks for joining me, my man.
No problem, Bo, and I'm glad to be on with you.
All right, so before we get in, we do have a lot of players to discuss today. It's going to be jam-packed. So I'm going to get right into just a little bit of information and an introduction to the course. Just in case you're not like a whiz and you're just trying to play a penny or a nickel or a quarter kind of league, or even a free league, and you just want some free advice and some free information about this course. They're playing Torrey Pines. It's going to be West Coast in California. It's in San Diego. There's two courses. Okay. There's going to be a South course and a North course. That's the first key. Okay, they usually play this place only on the South course. They're going to be playing 3 rounds on the South course this week. If you make the cut, Saturday and Sunday will be on the South course, but they're going to alternate Thursday and Friday, and they're each going to play around on the North and South course. Now, they're both par 72s. Which means there's 4 par 5s on each course. So par 5s are going to be a big deal. However, those 4 par 5s on each course are extremely different. The North course is going to have a much shorter par 5, and just course in general, it's 7,200 yards compared to the South course, which is a big boy course. It's going to reach 7,700 plus, depending on the tee boxes they use this year. Another note, you might be looking back, Torrey Pines also hosts U.S. Opens, and it's actually the U.S. Open later this year. However, I do feel like there'll be some sort of major vibe here because it's a great warm up for the U.S. Open, but it's gonna still be tremendously different. Pins are going to be a lot easier this week opposed to U.S. Open. At least we could all assume that. You never know what the USGA could do, but I'd assume that's how it's going to be. Of note, I could not find any actual data to suggest it gives you an advantage to roster golfers that get either the North or South course first on Thursday. However, the North course is going to be easier. It's going to be about 3 strokes easier. So if you do have guys going on that North course on Thursday, you definitely want to see good scores. If they come away with a bad score, I'm not going to be happy with that outcome of that player because they've got the big boy course next. So just keep that in mind. I think that will do it for the introduction for this course. Again, do your own research, and we'll touch on some players today that are horses for courses. But in a difficult course, I guess it may decrease the importance of having some tournament history bumped up. I still think it's going to be important this week, but maybe a little less important opposed to a tournament that we just saw, like the Sony Open, a much easier course to get. Anyways, I'm going to turn it over to Alex now, and he's going to talk about our first value player. By the way, we're going to go through value players first, then we're going to go a little bit of mid-tier, and then we're going to talk about the big buckaroonies. So, Alex, go ahead. Kick us off with your boy James on.
I wanted to elaborate a little bit more on the course strategy too. I thought that maybe going with an afternoon player on the North course on the first day may suit better because then you get the tougher course in the morning, you get the easier course in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Might be an easy way to make that cut.
it might be like I don't know what I don't know if I want to weigh that in my choices and players. Are you thinking to weight that a little more than you normally would?
I think I might, because conversely, if you're ending up with a morning tee time on the North Course, and let's say perhaps maybe on the second day, and that maybe a windier day or tougher conditions there, you may be at a deficit to the original player playing in the first situation.
Yeah, I mean it's a strategy. I definitely agree that if you want to play that strategy, it could end up benefiting any of you guys playing. Also, before Alex goes, I almost forgot, there won't be shot link on the North Course. There won't be shot link on the North Course, which means you can't watch your golfer one on each shot on Tourcast. Okay, guys, it'll only be on the South Course, FYI. But anyways, Alex, go on.
So as we're headed in the bargain bin, my first stop is at James Hahn, and I love him for $20. He's on the year averaging 78.5 points. He's made the cut his last two at T32 at the American Express, T41 at the Sony Open. His past finishes here leave some to be desired. He's cut in 2019, T45 in 2018. But as we've seen on this course, it's about hanging around, and it's about staying around par and finishing with a lot of 70s. And James Hahn offers you that when he's second in the whole tour for driving accuracy this year. He's getting on greens in an insane fashion. He's top 5 in greens in regulation. And his birdie or better percentage is 32nd. So when he's getting there, he's a 2-putt king, but he can roll a few in when he gets hot. And I think that's what you're looking for from a 20 player, somebody who has a level of consistency and somebody who also offers a little bit higher of a ceiling to maybe edge into that top 15 area.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I can't argue when you're naming a $20 player who's rattled off. If you didn't notice, 3 top tens after golf pick backed up. Sure, he had a miscut, but everything's looking green for him, to be honest. I'm personally not including him in my player pool this week, just for the fact that I'm waiting driving distance a little heavier and a guy that can pound it a little further than Hahn. However, I do agree with you that I think the battle will be won this week on those par fours, and he is one of the better par four players because he is one of the better players hitting those fairways, which is going to be really important, obviously, on those par fours. So I really do like that about him. I also do like his birdie or better opportunities, but nothing else really sticks out to me. I'm really going more of the bomb and gouge route this week, but you can't sit here and think I'm not going to think about James Hahn. So I definitely think he's a great play. And just like you said, if you're thinking about a guy that is going to be not hitting it far, right, but very accurate, he's still gaining off the tee with just his premier accuracy, like you said. So I really like it. And everything else is just about what you're going to get for a $20 player. And you said his tournament history wasn't too bad, right? I mean, he's been cut a few times, but he's made the cut. I mean, not exactly what I would personally be looking for at the $20 player. I like to see someone making the cut the last time they played for a bargain player. But again, I can't really argue with the fact that the guy's been one of the hottest players coming back. And I mean, at $20, what can you do?
And he's not Jim Furyk off the tee. He's still averaging 300 yards. So at the end of the day, somebody that puts it in the middle of the pack, you're probably better off than somebody bombing it in the woods. If you are looking for a long hitter, maybe countering this play with a Wyndham Clark might be one. That's a guy who can roll it and hit it a long ways.
Yep. Or and we don't have him on today's discussion. Or you can play some Russian roulette and go ahead and play Luke List. I'd stay far away from him, but he's also a bomb and gouge guy. But he's got really nothing else in his bag besides that. Okay, James Hahn though, first player in that value plays, and he's very viable at $20. Our next guy is going to be John Huh. Now, if anyone's watching this that plays daily with me, I was not on him last week, and he went ahead and picked me up and threw me in the garbage, guys. So that was really awesome of John Huh. He really proved to me that he can sustain what he's doing. If you don't know about Huh, he's actually playing for his card, kind of like Kirk was. So he definitely does, and I did not know this until after last week. So I do like to target players that have a little something extra to play for, especially when it's their next meal on the table for their family. So the only thing I dislike about Huh this week is his performance on POA. Now that's going to be the surface on the greens for the South Course, which they're going to play 3 times if you make the cut. It's not necessarily his strongest feat. In fact, he can putt better than anything else. However, I love what he's doing. He's on a roll right now. He has 5 made cuts. He's turning into a top 20 monster. Specifically the American Express, the only place he lost was putting, and I don't think it's this course is going to make bad putters a little bit better compared to what last week was. It was the opposite last week. So I really do genuinely like Huh quite a bit. Also, something that I really love, and it just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable inside, is that he hasn't missed the cut here in half a decade. Now I'm not really looking at the T8 getting all excited that he was a different golfer then. But I love the consistency. And for a $20 player, what I'm looking for, and I'll always say this, is make the cut. The fantasy points will come on Saturday and Sunday, whatever you get me. And I mean, he's top 10 in the players that we're talking about today in strokes gained total at Torrey Pines. So I love that he's an approach player. Gains about 3/4 of a stroke on approach on the year. I think that you can go back to Huh with the thought that maybe a top 40 comes in play and feel pretty comfortable making the cut. So I love John Huh. What do you think?
I mean, he's been hitting the ball well. Ball striking's been good. His approach has been good. There's not a lot to argue with. We're in the bin still. So,
Yeah.
You like him now. That's the right reasoning.
Yeah, absolutely. Love myself some John Huh. Let's move on to our next, which is going to be, and I'm not going to pronounce it. I'll go ahead and let Alex announce it. Lahiri, right?
My guy, Anirban Lahiri. And you wanted somebody with high stakes. This may be his last PGA Tour event. If he doesn't play well, he may be off the tour. And this is all he has guaranteed through the year.
Wow.
If he plays well, he'll have next week the waste management.
Isn't he young? Why is this? Was he just?
I mean, he's 33. It's not that he's young. He's been around. He's played in India. He's played some of the other tours, and he's been trying to make his crack in the PGA. And this is what's looking like his last chance. He turned pro in 2007, so he's going on being a 13-year vet. And if you want to see somebody who's a birdie or better guy, this is a guy taking a lot of risks, and he's 13th in the tour in birdie averages. He has a lot to play for here. He doesn't have the money implications that some of the younger guys have. He's a career earner over $5 million, but he probably wants that tour card a lot more than these guys. He realizes his career may be coming to an end, and he's pretty solid everywhere. His only place that he's losing strokes really is approaching the green. He's barely under middle of the pack. Putting, he's good. Strokes gained total, he's good. Everywhere else, he's pretty solid. And I think for $20, taking somebody who's hot, who's just had a few bad rounds, if you go look at him even last week, it's even just a few bad holes. You watch him start out really hot. He was 4 under, and then he just took a couple doubles. He made a few mistakes. And that same thing holds true with what he's done here at Torrey. A lot of people remember him in 2018, going under par, and he's 2 under through 11 holes. Then 14 to 17, he bogeys 3 times and doubles once, and he ends up 3 over. And if he can
Wow.
avoid those stretches where he just mentally implodes, which I think with a lot on the line here, he's going to be able to, then we might see him challenge at least the cut line here.
Well, what happened? How did he gain strokes in every category last week and miss the cut? Was it just that he had the blow up hole?
It's just blowing up again for him. It's just stringing together bogeys instead of birdies.
I mean, you generally don't see all categories gained and miss a cut. I mean, the scoring was high, but um, I mean, that's shocking. So that's a good trend. I do like that he gained in every category. We didn't talk about much about his. I mean, he's been cut twice, but he has made it here. I definitely think though that Lahiri's definitely a guy kind of like Huh. They are playing for something a little bit larger, and in golf, I mean that's your career. So I definitely agree with you in the fact that that extra incentive could be interesting to chase, and in a larger tournament, I think that would be an interesting play, right? I mean, I don't think a lot of people will be on him. And if you're playing a larger field and he comes out and gives you a top 20, you're looking good.
Yeah, and if you look at his recent rounds, going back 10 rounds for him, he has 11 rounds 70 or less, and he's a capable golfer, capable of taking even on the tough courses here, and he's had the results to show that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him 8, 9 under, when this ends, depending on how scoring goes.
Yeah. No, I like this pick. I haven't heard his name in any articles this week. I think it's an original pick. I can't wait to see what he can do. And two guys that you've named so far, up in the top top 30 golfers in BOB gained. So it sounds like that might be a strategy you're targeting this week. So I do like that. Let's move on to I can't even call my boy. I'm actually coming back this week and making up some mistakes that I made last week because I'm pretty sure Cameron Davis was about in the same area as Huff for me last week, and that I really didn't believe that they could churn up a few rounds in a row playing solid golf and getting to that next tier. Now, I know Alex is going to have some things to say about Cameron Davis because I won't lie to you. He's been on Cameron Davis longer than I have. I just drew the lucky stick of talking about him. Let's first and foremost, the reason why I like him a lot this week is because there's not going to be a lot of OB risk here. You can bomb this course, and as long as you can if you miss the green on your approach shot, as long as you can have a good around a green game, which he doesn't. So for a $21 player, you're never going to have all the categories you want be great. But I do love that he's been dominant in strokes gained, par 5. He's dominant off the tee. And for a power player, his par 3 play is tremendous. And for what is this guy, 7 feet tall? He's a great putter with how lengthy and skinny he is. So I just love that he can bomb gouge and putt well here. And I know you're gonna mention the BOB because it sounds like that's what you're targeting this week. So I'll let you talk a little bit about that. And then just the tournament history here. Again, we can't expect much from a $21 player, but he has rattled off 3 straight made cuts, which is what I like to see. And then again, he's a good putter, not great on POA. I think that'll balance out a bit. Like I said, POA is hard to determine. So even your best putters, the ball can hit something, bounce, and just go the wrong way. It's not going to be beautiful and silky smooth like it was last week on those Bermudas. And I mean, look at this. A 3rd place. Boy, was I wrong last week. 14.5 strokes gained total. Killed it in the 3 areas he does. Approach, off the tee, putted well. Okay. So if he does have an issue this week, I will admit that you do need a good around the green game. And that's the one category he's been struggling in the last 5, 10, 20, 53 rounds. So he's not great there. So if he gets in trouble around the green, we could see him implode. I'll take him for $21. What do you think, Alex?
And I mean, this is a case of striking while the iron's hot. I don't see a lot of golfers in this tier that are much hotter than Cam Davis right now. And there's a reason I've been on him for a while. He's very capable of going low. He's very capable of getting these top 10 finishes. And it's an absolute joke that he's still here for $23. I'd be paying
21.
up to $28, $30.
21. He's $21 this week.
$21 this week. Sorry. Yeah, it's a steal. It's an absolute crime.
So
and, if you go look at his last 8 rounds, you're just seeing spectacular golf. He's 68, 66, 67, 66 at Sony. He's 68, 70, 66, 64 at the American Express. Now, those are easier courses, but that's what he does, you know, and he is hit them far, chip up, and get a good putt, and he can roll them. One thing that I mentioned, even if he does miss, his around the green game, you know, isn't spectacular, but the putting helps, obviously. He's middle of the pack as far as sand save percentage, and it's one thing to keep an eye on. You know, if he is going to miss and he can keep those misses at least to bunkers or to the fringe, he has a chance to be successful here.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, like, you hit it on the head. I mean, $21, as hot as he's been, with a course history of basically never missing a cut here. His upside's tremendous, where you know, the floor is pretty safe. Like I said, I only see one route where he really just caves and just explodes. I don't think we'll see that, though, because he's pretty red hot. Speaking of how you said it's outrageous, he's $21. Would you say he would be in every lineup you build?
I'd say a majority of them, it's worked that way. It's just hard to argue against his last 12 rounds here. You know, he's 72 or under 11 of the rounds. He only has the implosion his last round of 2018 where he shot an 80. Outside of that, he's been nothing but solid here. And it's hard to look past him for that price, especially. As I said, you know, bring him all the way up to $28. It's hard not to roster him.
It really is. And just before we move on, it's ridiculous that this big dude that's just bombing that ball out there is also 24th ranked ball striking and is still better than middle of the pack in approach. I mean, we
can roll the putts too,
and can roll the putts. We could be keep Cameron Davis's name in your heads. I think we could be looking at something a little bit different, something we haven't seen in a while. So I like this player, the tall Aussie. Anyways. Let's move on to, I think Alex is going to give us a little talking about Francesco Molinari.
Now, this is one of my favorite golfers before the break, and we were seeing an ascension into something special with him. And it was too bad seeing COVID kind of derail his upswing in the golf community, at least getting nationally recognized to the level he deserved. And we're seeing him with solid results, you know, here, but some back and forth too. He has missed cuts here. He missed a cut last year.
He's made some too.
The year before he finishes in 18, he finished 45th. And it's whether the question with Molinari is whether he's the golfer before the break or whether he's the golfer still shaking off the rust. And if we, you know, see him start going back to form, some of his recent results show he's playing some of his best golf right now. He's tied for 8th at American Express last weekend. He missed a cut at the Masters the last time that we saw him, but he played pretty well. And it's hard to root against him, man. He's absolutely spectacular with his irons. He may not hit it a long ways, but he's middle of the pack there as well. And it's just hard to argue against somebody that can score that proficiently in the lower $20 range. What do you think about him?
I don't know what to think about him. I haven't been able to make up my mind on Francesco. I'll say this: $23. It's too cheap. I don't care. It's too cheap. I'd have been more comfortable if he was $28 or $29. I would have just faded him all together. But putting him at $23, I mean, he is a player, and you can't say this about too many players at this price that can come out and win. How many times do you roster a $20 player with the expectation of winning? He has that caliber of golf in him that he could come out and win a tournament. And I think that he can make he can gain strokes back this week in his around the green game. If you know anything about Francesco, he's not going to hit it long, which it's obviously that's not the route I'm going. I'm going bomb and gouge, but players that are shorter can pick strokes back up around the green because a lot of those bombers are going to be like Bryson. They just don't know how to chip. Okay.
And if you're scared to play somebody like Cameron Davis, we just mentioned, this is a good contrast here.
Absolutely.
Where if wind conditions are high or you think the course is playing a little tough, you may want to go with somebody like this that Bo mentions has a great around the green game, great irons game. The only real downside is putting.
Only downside for him is putting. And also, by the way, Molinari is one of the better tough condition golfers. So do your own research, look at the weather. If it's going to look nasty, maybe half the weekend, take a shot at him because we've seen him play in some pretty bad conditions. I'll talk about one more player that's a great bad condition golfer later. And also, he did miss the cut at Masters, but that's not the last time we saw him. He played at the American Express last week and had an 8th place. I mean, is that a golfer that's trying to ramp up and maybe get a win at Torrey Pines? I'm saying this. I certainly hope Molinari isn't my Cameron Davis and John Huh of this week. And I feel like I'm going to fade him and just watch this guy walk into a T5. So just like Alex said, if you want to kind of say, you know what, I don't want to go Bo's route. I want to go a guy that's really accurate off the tee, that hits the irons exceptional. And if he gets in trouble around the green, he's going to pitch it within 2 feet and he's going to have a tap in. That's going to be Francesco for you. He's viable. He scares me at this price. As we're speaking about him right now, I'm like, man, I really should be playing him. So Molinari is an interesting play. Thanks for mentioning that, by the way, with the Davis thing. He's absolutely the opposite kind of player. So good.
Absolutely, and pairing him with the Hahn too accesses you that paradigm if you want to follow that of just accuracy and people that are going to play well with their irons.
Absolutely. And Huh also covers that basis for the most part. So those are really good keys. Francesco, I hope you play well this week. And I hope you burn me. Speaking of burns, Sam Burns. Everyone knows that I went in hard on him last week at $31, and he left me $50 poor last week. And basically, you never want to know that you are basically out on middle way through Thursday's round, and I knew that last week. And I'm going to go right back to Sam Burns. Never be scared to play a guy that just burnt you the last week. I've done it before, hopped off, and the guy wins. So he's definitely in the style of play that I'm trying to play. Remember my theme. So the guy is just an absolute monster off the tee. But don't forget, he's also a great ball striker. 5th ranked in this field. He's 9th for par 5s, and he's 7th driving distance. Now, Sam Burns and Cameron Davis could also kill me around the green. They're going to be that kind of player, as well as he's a great approach player, and he's a better putter than 51st ranked. He's having a little bit of woes with his putter, but he's usually upward towards the top. So I think that'll come back soon. I don't know if it'll be this week. And then as Alex mentioned before the video, we actually added the proximity stat, and he ranks really high up there in proximity to the hole. So that's an interesting stat as well. But what I do like about this is look at this from his miscut. He had a terrible 77 in round 1. Then he brought it back with a 66. I mean, he played great. He was working off the rust. The last time that he was supposed to play, he withdrew. Then this was the first one that he played, and I didn't take that into account. I thought he'd come out firing on all cylinders. He shot a 77, but he's coming off a 66, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be scared to fire him up. He's going to hit the ball far. He's going to hit it accurately, and he's going to drain some putts this week for you. And just for course history, he's similar to like all the guys we've mentioned because we're still kind of in a lower price tier, T49, T40 in a cut. But overall, I really love him, and I really do like paying attention to price increases or decreases. And he decreased $6 on Yahoo, and I think maybe I overestimated his powers last week at 31, but I think $25 suits him more. What do you think, Alex?
This is one that I don't love here. And Sam Burns, one of the reasons is that if conditions are tougher here and he isn't able to get his approach irons to the green, he's going to have trouble. And his around the green game isn't good, as you've said. And he's not going to be able to bail that out like some of the other players we've mentioned with strong putting. And so if we see him miss, he's one of the worst from the sand. He's 172nd. And, so if conditions are easy and he's able to get it close, he is, T34 right now for proximity. And he'll have some chance at some two putts, but I don't love Sam Burns here. I think it's going to be a fade for me, and it's going to be a tough play.
Okay. No, yeah, I will say one point that I agree with that you said in there is that if this turns into a really nasty weather condition tournament, I would agree with you that he wouldn't be the best play. So again, do your research, look out for the weather. I'll still be plugging him in most likely unless it looks like it's raining 3 of the 4 days a week. But I really do love myself some Sam Burns. I do like what you said, though, about that. Let's go on to another $25 player, Mr. Short-hitting Griot.
Griot faces some of the same issues that Sam Burns does. He's not great around the green. He's not great putting, but everywhere else he's a plus player. And if you want to strike while the iron's hot, he's been playing great. He's T37 at American Express last weekend, T47 Sony Open before that, and T8 at Mayakoba. His past finishes here have been a mixed bag. He was cut last year. He's T52 in 2019 and T12 in 2018. Now, one thing to note is his rounds he's played here have been really great. You watch some of the greats play here. Tony Finau was somebody I brought up to you before the video. You watch him shoot a lot of 69s and 70s here. For my lower tier players, I want people that are going slow. He's somebody who's put up 267s here in his last 8 rounds. It's hard to go against a pretty solid golfer that you can see going lower. There are stats that go against him here, but he's somebody with a good scoring average. He's birdieing, and if his putter's rolling well, then we'll see a great round from him.
So Griot for me is one of my least favorite golfers this week, and I've said that before. Battling, what was it, Victor Hovland? I think he was battling Victor Hovland, the OHL. I think Victor ended up winning that. Honestly, I think we're starting to see his decrease right now as the courses have gotten larger. He's gotten substantially worse. Now he's still gaining strokes in certain areas that I like, but I just don't think that he's going to have the power to contend. I would much rather, in comparison, take a guy like Francisco Molinari, which I think he has he's the caliber of golfer that I think could come up and win this tournament. I just don't like how short Rio's going to be here. And while he's been tremendous in some categories of late, I don't think he's the caliber like Molinari, and you're getting Molinari for $2 cheaper. They're relatively the same type of player in terms of trying to be accurate off the tee and good with their irons. However, I think Molinari is actually a better putter. Griot's pretty terrible on POA as well. It's just not the theme I'm going with. If you like the hot streak player, he had an 18 and an 8. But I don't like 47 and 37. I think we might see a miscut here from Griot. So I think
interesting thing to bring up that kind of prevents him, I think, from missing this cut is he's a fantastic scrambler. You watch him at 37th in the league in scrambling, and his proximity has been great this year too.
Yeah, it has. It has.
Watch him scoring, and a lot of people faded him last week for a lot of the reasons you're mentioning, and you're watching him produce consistent results through this season and last, where he's consistently double digits under par. He's had a hiccup maybe every 5 tournaments, but for the most part, he's making the cut with only 1 missed cut in his last 10.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's been a cut maker. I just think that, again, I would pivot to a guy we've already talked about, like Molinari, if I had to choose. I wouldn't have both of them in there. But again, excellent ball striker. I just think that you could get someone a little bit cheaper that's relatively the same player and save a few dollars. But yeah, I mean, with my theme, he won't be close to my player pool this week. Let's move on to a guy that I was forced to put in here. Unfortunately, I'm covering him, and it's with great deal and joy that I have to cover Mark Leishman. Can you just listen to how excited I am right now? I don't like Mark Leishman as a golfer. I've never liked watching him golf. I don't think he's a good golfer. However, how can you do a video and not include the defending champ? Yes, I said it. Mark Leishman, defending champ. He has been awful for, good God, Lord, how long? He's been awful for this full year, right, Alex? For like a full year of golf, just terrible.
I mean, that's the thing about Leishman. He's kind of the Terrence Ross of the PGA. Of one night he'll give you 6, and the next night he'll give you 55, and it's hard to predict from him.
All right, I just wanted to find Farmers last year. So first place, 14 strokes gained total. Now, what's weird is he didn't gain off the tee. Mark Leishman never will, but he did it with approach, and he did it with 8 strokes gain putting. I would like to ask anyone, and I would like to put any type of bet down. Is anyone going to gain 8 strokes putting this week? I'd say not. I don't think we'll see that this week. He just played okay tee to green and was amazing at ball striking that week. But he came, and you know what? He's a bigger story because he came back at the Sony and played phenomenal with a 4th place, and he's had 2 tournaments in a row now where he's made the cut. So I mean, and he played 13th Masters. So there's a lot of narrative, and he's in every article I've read thus far. I just because I think he's gonna garner more interest and ownership, I'm fading him because I don't think that he'll repeat. And I think there's a chance of a miscut. If you look at his history, he's great at rattling 2 or 3 and then miscut. I mean, I don't have a good read on him. I don't watch him a lot, but I would say this: a lot of the numbers that he's showing right now aren't very true. We can't really go by our model because he was a terrible golfer all year, so that's not really telling you much. And look at his strokes gain total here. So he is a horse for the course. So he's a horse for the course. Finished 4th at the Sony, and he's the defending champion. That's why everyone's on him. What do you think? What do we do here, Alex? Do we actually consider playing him for $31? Because my stomach hurts even saying that line.
I mean, I'll say I don't like Mark Leishman in specific, but he's kind of his victory model is essentially what I'm structuring my lower end players around. And you see him in his tournament amongst the field. He finished 1st in birdie or better percentage. He finished 1st in strokes gained putting. He was tied for 4th in scrambling, 1st in bogey avoidance, and 1st on the par 3s. And if we can see some other players kind of take hold of that model, I can see a victory here, or even just contending into Sunday. Look, Mark Leishman in specific, I don't think so. I think we saw an anomaly the last couple of weeks. I don't believe he's back. It's like you said, 2 tournaments of being hot, and then he's back to missing cuts. So good luck with everybody that rides him. I think 31's a steep price.
How do you explain, though, in all of the players, he's ranked 3rd for us in strokes gained total here? I mean, he is a horse for the course. So it's like, is this perfect timing that this tournament just ended up right on the heels of a 4th place at Sony? Or are we thinking that he's going to regress as a golfer and the horse for course really shouldn't be weighed as much with him?
Well, and I think that's what's getting a lot of people buying into him, right? Like, you couldn't have a better optical situation here where you have somebody that's hot and you have somebody that's played well at the course. I think it just sets up the biggest trap for the players here.
Yeah, I would say that this is our biggest trap, and I'm not going to be mad. I'll say this: I won't be mad if he buries me. If he goes out and gets a T3 here, I won't feel as bad as not playing Cameron Davis last week. So, good luck to Mark Leishman. I don't think I'll be on him for this week. And like you said, $31 steep price. Let's move on now. This player is intriguing to me, so I can't wait to hear you speak about him. I actually just love him as a golfer. Carlos Ortiz.
Now, Carlos Ortiz, if you want somebody, to take a big risk on, maybe in the ire of Leishman, but that's perhaps not the risk for you, this is the one to go to. And 77.7 fantasy points per game this year. He's been playing solid. Recently, he's been playing solid too. He's tied 14th at the Sony, 37th at Century. The only thing that's not fitting him here is his course history here. Now he's cut in his last two. He has two bad rounds. He shot 77 and a 76, once in 2020 and 2019. And you watch somebody that if he stays hot to the form that he's been playing at, and that holds on, that this is the golfer you want to take this week. I think the price is a little steep on him, but he's a play in certain lineups where you're left between $30 and $35.
Well, first, I mean, shout out for the win at Houston Open, by the way. I watched him win that, and that was really exciting. And he's playing phenomenal golf, and he's a different golfer. In my eyes, I think he's a different golfer than he was even 12 months ago. So I agree with you that if you're trying to take a gamble, I would take Carlos Ortiz over Leishman. His course history, sure, is scary. He's the worst player in our list today that we're speaking about. However, he's come a long way, like I said, in a short period of time, and he's a stud scoring the ball. So I'll say this: if he makes the cut, he's going to be scoring way more than your normal average player that just makes the cut. So fantasy terms, he's also a great play. I mean, and we didn't mention this is his best surface. He thrives on POA. So I'm hoping that we see a similar performance of Sony, in that he's going to gain a good amount putting, which you can never bank on, but I hope he does. And he's really strong off the tee too. He's sneaky off the tee. So I definitely like Carlos Ortiz. If I had $34 and wanted to kind of gamble, I'd definitely take him. Are you going to be rostering him?
And I wasn't left with that amount of money in a lot of my rosters. I was headed towards three upper echelon players and three towards the bottom. I found a lot of value in the 20s. But I mean, he's a great take here. He's second in the tour in Eagles this year. He's scoring. I think one really interesting thing about him is his bounce back percentages. We are going to see bogeys here, and people that tend to implode maybe in the ire of Lahiri are a little bit dangerous to take. But he's 33rd in bounce back, which has him coming from bogeys back to par and back to birdies. And you want a player that's going to be resilient here. And I think for scoring wise, he's 14th as far as actual scoring this year. It's hard to look past him at this dollar range. I don't think you see a lot more solid golfers.
Yeah, and let's just mention he is a solid combination of around the green, driving distance, and scrambling. So just keep that in mind. A little bit of everything, absolutely. Let's move on to Billy Ho. Alex will be taking this boy as well. I've been very intrigued in his recent game log. What do we have for Billy Ho this week?
And man, we talked about some guys being hot. This man is scorching like hell's sun is under him. He is tied for 7th at Sony. He's tied for 24th at Century. He's tied for 5th at Mayakoba. He's been hotter than an oven's panhandle. He's having himself a year. And if you know Billy Horschel, last year he had a coming out party of a bit, and you could see him kind of come into his own as a golfer. He's solid. He's somebody who's just a great golfer. And if you're looking in this 30 range, I think it's pretty barren, and you're kind of sparse. And that's why not a lot of people you'll see this week with a lot of balanced lineups. We're going to see more top heavy. I think in the lower 20 range, we're seeing a lot of value there, and that's going to push people towards taking more stars. As far as Billy Ho, the stats aren't there this year. It has him losing approach to the green, losing around the green slightly, losing tee to green. But that's, I don't believe, representative of the golfer he is. If you're looking for somebody that's pretty much a guaranteed cut on a tough course, he's always hanging around come Sunday.
Yeah. First of all, let's shout out 9 straight made cuts for Billy Ho, and of his last 3 tournaments, 2 top 10s.
Yeah, couldn't be hotter.
Couldn't be hotter. What you like to see is when you have a putter, like he's a solid putter in every category. Poe is his worst, but he gained 8 strokes putting. I mean, you can't expect that, but you want to see him positive in putting. You want to see him pick up some approach. The thing I don't like about Billy Ho, and I can't do it at this course. It's a long course, and approach is going to be really big. He's losing approach in the last 6 tournaments. So he's been hot other ways. I think that will cool him down here, and the tournament history would justify that slightly. He has made all the cuts, though, and he does have a T8 and 18. He makes me think he's sneaky off the tee. I don't know. I wouldn't roster him at the price right now. But like you said, I think he's got the most string of made cuts that we're talking about today. So if you want someone that's safe to make the cut, I don't think he's going to miss the cut. But I don't think he's got a chance to really compete for a top 10 here. I think we'll see somewhere anywhere between 40 and 20. So I think maybe a little too expensive for Billy Ho. But you are right. I mean, scorching hot. I mean, you can't take that for granted.
And if you go look at him last year, he's gaining everywhere. Yeah, approach is his worst stat, but he's average there.
Yes.
And he's an elite putter. He's elite off the tee, and he's elite around the green even.
I would say if he picks up that approach randomly this week, you do have yourself a problem.
Or if we see the field suffer.
Correct. Either or. Let's move on to one of my favorite golfers of all time, Mr. Bubba Watson. Now, I'm really upset at his price at $37. I think that they just looked at course history and then automatically just hiked his price up. I mean, I was playing Bubba Watson anywhere between $23 and $28 all of last year in multiple tournaments. Alex will tell you I was playing him even when he was an awful play. I just like having Bubba Watson in my lineup. If you follow him on some of his social media, he's just a funny guy. But I think that this course fits his eye. If anyone knows Bubba Watson, he loves to shape the ball quite a bit. And he can shape all he wants here. There's nothing really in his way. And look at, if we're talking about a hot golfer, Bubba Watts has been pretty hot, my man. I mean, a 7 and a 4, 57 at the Masters. That was a little bit disappointing. I actually rostered him at the Masters, and that was not what I was thinking I was going to get. And if we look at Bubba here, he's middle of the pack, but he hasn't played this tournament in so long. T6 last year. That's his only appearance in the last 5 years. But the dude is in play for me in the theme I'm playing. He's going to bomb the ball. One thing you do want to keep track of, though, is he's not this bad of a putter in his career, but he's been in a funk for about 2 years putting. So keep an eye out for that. But he's going to crush your par fives. He's going to crush ball striking. He's been amazing approach. And around the green, Bubba's actually one of the more fantastic around the green players. He wasn't as great around the green last year. I think that will go up. Like I said, he likes to shape shots. He does some crazy things around the green that you just don't see normal people able to do. So I think that Bubba Watson here, if he comes in and actually ball strikes the best of this group, I don't see how he'll be outside the top 10 here, even if he putts terribly. How do you feel about Bubba?
Love Bubba Watson, the player and the person. Hate the play. I mean, he's solid. He's solid everywhere. For me, it's but the putting. And it's when you get there, we're going to need scoring, whether that's saving your butt or whether that's getting ahead. Mm-hmm. And on these days where we're going to be contending, fighting to save par, everybody's going to have a rough day here. Everybody's going to have a day where they're shooting 70 or more, at least once here. Mm-hmm. And I think for Bubba, that becomes a big number. If we look at his recent performance, even where he's been really hot, we can still watch some huge scores. And we watch a U.S. Open where he played great. He has 72, 69, 74. Then he blows up and has a 77. And we see that with every tournament with Bubba nowadays, where he's coming out solid and then he's throwing a tanker. And it's the same thing happened in the Masters. He's 74, 69 there, makes the cut. 71 on the third day and then throws a 78 on Sunday. And for me, at that price, I just can't have somebody that's throwing points in the well like that on Sunday.
Now, you did just make the point at the price. I mentioned that at the beginning. I don't think I can get to him because of the price. They hiked his price up so much. I mean,
It is expensive for Bubba Watson.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous price. At that price, absolutely, I don't think that you can get to him because there's better players $5 off of him. But I mean, if he was where he should be priced, where they've had him priced, even before he took the break off at the Masters, now they already have him at $37. I mean, disappointing to see him there. But I do like his game here, and if he can make some putts, if he gains putting and he continues to be an excellent ball striker, we would see something special. His trend of gaining putt isn't great, so I doubt we'll see it. But if we do see it, we should see a solid performance from him. So we'll just, it's, yeah, $37 is just way too much for Bubba Watson. Great play though, and just watch him play, guys. If you ever not watched Bubba Watson play, watch him play before he retires. He's an absolute hoot. Let's move on to sweet singing, dancing Louis Oosthuizen.
And man, if you want a age veteran, we got 38-year-old Louis Oosthuizen, and my favorite golfer there is on tour. He's solid everywhere, and he's a fan favorite at 37. It's hard to justify rostering him despite how much I love him. But if you want somebody and you're stuck in that tier and you don't want to take a big risk at the top, want somebody who's guaranteed going to make the cut at a tough course, this is your guy. And he just does everything everywhere. He's rated in the top 25. If you look at this man, Eagles, holes per, he's ninth. He's getting you the top tier scoring. His birdies average isn't great, but he's giving you a scoring average of 69, 18th in the tour, 45th from the sand. Everywhere he's solid. He's solid off the tee, solid approaching the green. He can putt. It's what he can't do this season, and we're yet to see it right now with Louis. What do you feel about him?
This is going to be a lot more of he's kind of an opposite player of how Bubba plays, but these two are some of my favorite aged veterans out there for different reasons. I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to keep on using him as a reference. We spoke about Francesco Molinari at $23. Louis a better golfer right now than Francesco, but they do certain things similarly well. And same thing with Bubba, with people that are cheaper and a little more expensive to him. I don't like the $37 range. So just speaking of them on a play, both of them are really hard to get to this week in the way that I'm building lineups. And it sounds like the way you're building lineups as well. But I'll agree to this. He's going to make the cut. I wouldn't be surprised if he's inside the top 20. I wouldn't be surprised if he's contending on Sunday. And if you've ever watched him golf around the green, he is pretty magnificent. There are some shots on ShotLink where I think this is going to be an automatic bogey, and he pars it. And he has like 4 holes like that. He is one of the better tough course golfers out there. If I'm going this route and I'm playing this type of theme in golfer, I would just bet on Molinari being back closer to his original form and playing him at 23 instead of Louis at 37. But don't get me twisted, guys. Louis a better golfer than Molinari is now, and I expect him to be way further up the leaderboard than Molinari. But for the type of golfer you're looking for, I would just pivot and save the $14.
And I mean, I agree. It's tough to roster somebody in this range. I had a tough time squeezing him in. I barely got him in some small budget lineups.
Yeah, great player though, and I hope we watch him on Sunday competing for a win. It'd please me. Next up, let's talk about Mr. Jason Day. So kind of like Leishman, but opposite. I don't hate Jason Day. I really like him as a golfer. He's been in all the articles this week, so we need to cover him. And here's the thing: he's a horse for the course. So Leishman and Day are both horse for courses. We have a few more we haven't gotten to yet. but he won in 2018, scrambled off a T5 in 19, scrambled off a T16 in 20. Now, we've been talking about how the conditions could slightly get sketchy this week, okay? There are a few reasons why, and there's a few reasons why. If you're gonna select someone in this range we've just gone through, we're almost out of it. Next player is gonna be our first $40 player. If you're gonna play Bubba, Louie, or Day, or Billy even, I'm going to play Jason Day. Now, there's a few reasons why. Him and Louis, both great, difficult course players. We get that, okay? But Day is exceptional on POA, and I've looked back. This guy can putt on POA like others can't. He can see some of the things that the ball's going to do, I think, that others can't. I don't know if he's a seasoned veteran. He was one of the best putters of all time. And so the only thing that ever concerns me with Day is if it gets a little cold, does that back get stiff? But if you're going to take a shot at someone in this range, I'm going to go Day because what did we say we need? Around the green. He's one of the best around the green of all time. Putting when you're in bad situations, he's going to make himself in good situations because he's so great around the green, but he can also putt. So if his approach game, the key is going to be his approach game. He hasn't been approaching well to end last season. And at the RSM, he really didn't either. We saw the Houston Open where he broke a stroke gain in approach. We haven't seen it since the PGA, where he had this really nice streak at the Memorial, St. Jude, and the PGA, where he was approaching well. So if he gets his approach game back and you bet on, okay, Jason Day is going to approach the ball well, I think that he could win this tournament. He loves this place. It works well for him. He can hit it so far, and no matter where the ball is, he can scramble out of it. I think he's the best scrambler in terms of just all time in the field that we have right now. So yeah, if I'm going to go with one of those guys, I'm going to go Day just on the just based on I think he has the best chance at actually winning. And when you're rostering a player between $36, $38, you can't think made cut. You got to think competing for a win. I'm not playing him because I still think there's better players, and me and Alex, I think, have a similar roster build this week slightly with how we're using salaries. But if I'm going to do that or pivot off one of these $40 players that are popular, I'd go Day.
Now, Jason Day, it's a user preference. I think you live and you die by him. For me, it's a fade every week, all weeks. Can't trust his health. I can't trust who he is as a golfer.
Fair.
I do respect
It's
him
fair.
contending, but better luck.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I agree, and we could see the back stiffen at any time, and there goes your week. But man can win. I respect you fading him. I'm not playing him just because of the price and how the salaries work out. But great play. I've had Day kill me before. I've had Day come and just make me lose a week, and if he does it, I won't be surprised. Next up, we've got Mr. Decky. Now, if you listened to me last week, I'm definitely a type of person that likes a well-rounded bag, and Hideki has one club in particular in his bag that has basically cost him several wins in his career, and I think will continue to do so. However, he's not only one of my favorite plays this week. Tony Finau was my pick to win last week. He did what he does best, lose it on Sunday to Siwoo Kim. This week, my pick to win Torrey Pines and the Farmers Insurance Open is Hideki Matsuyama. And it is definitely something that's risky. He doesn't ever gain stroke putting. I will say this, though. I'm willing to play some blackjack here and just say Poa is his best surface putting. He does like Poa, and he does like this course. We'll get to his history in a second. And he's comfortable in these kind of areas. He likes the cooler air. I think that this area is going to suit him well, and the bad weather even helps him more because it's going to make putting even more erratic. However, I love that he's sneaky off the tee strong, one of the best pure ball striker we've ever seen, and he can do some crazy things around the green as well. Now, will he make the 3-foot putt? Alex could guess just as well as I don't know. However, I'm going to bet this week that he doesn't lose 3.8 strokes putting or 10 strokes putting. Can you believe someone lost 10 strokes putting, placed 41st? He lost 4 strokes putting, finished 19th. I'll say this, he doesn't need to gain 4.5 strokes putting. Let's just see him stay even with the field, and he'll be contending on Sunday, trying to get the win. The thing that scares you on Sundays is, what do you need? You need some clutch putts. Can he come up with them? I think he can this week. He's looking for that win. Hideki Matsuyama is going to win in the PGA Tour again. When? I think it's going to be this week. That's my call. I also love that he's a horse for the course. He hasn't rattled off a win yet, but in the last 4, he's made the cut. T33, T45, a T3, and a T12. I love Decky. I love that he's the same price as Wolf this week at $42. I love that he's the same price as M at $42. Both those guys are going to come in higher rostered with less tournament history at this course. And I think Decky is going to make people pay with his immaculate approach game this week. We might see an amazing performance. What do you have on my boy Decky?
So he's going to be the only player that I'm taking that isn't a great putter. And the reason is sticking with the program of I want somebody who's going to go low. And in his last 12 rounds here, he has 67 in 2020, 2 66s in 2019, and a 67 in 2019. He has 2 69s in 2018. He plays his course well. He's capable of going low there. It's limiting the high numbers. He's been able to do that so far, nothing greater than 74 in his last 3. Mm-hmm. Now, it's what you say about him. You know, can he roll the rock? And I think for Hideki, especially if wins up and this is going to play tougher than it normally does, he's a great play.
Yeah. No, I thought for there you were going to say this was going to be a fade for you. I'm really surprised that you took that route, because almost everyone I've loved so far, you've taken a different route. So that's interesting. I wasn't expecting you taking someone that is generally atrocious with the putter. But I've rostered him a few times last year, and I'll say this, the man just saves you in so many ways from his approach shots. And I just have a feeling this week he's been grinding to get the win. He just saw Na win. He just saw Siwoo Kim win. I think Decky gets it for Japan here. I just have a feeling. So, yeah, great play. And let me just mind you, the guy ranks well in eagles gained, ball striking and approach immaculate, like I said previously. He's going to score the ball. He's actually scoring fantasy points lower than he ever has. I think that'll trend back up a bit. Great par 3. I mean, there's everything we want here except for the putting. Let's just take the flyer on putting, and hopefully he gets the W. Next up, I'm talking about my pick to win last week with Tony Finau. I'll keep this one pretty short and simple because I've gone through his game last week, and he is a horse for the course here. He's never won it because he's never won except for Puerto Rico, if you count it. Some do, some don't. But T4, T6, T13, T6, T18 in 2016. He's the leader in the field in strokes gained total at this course. Book him in to make the cut. Book him in for a top 20. He could be the top 10. And he's got to be, excuse my language, pissed off that he hasn't been able to get a win. If he's there on Sunday and he doesn't get the win, boy, oh boy, I mean, the morale has to start dipping sometime. But he's great everywhere. There's nowhere I can say that he can't play well here. He could putt the ball amazing. He's going to be approach ball striking, great in par 5s. I think the only thing that could get him here is if his around the green game kind of gets him, but he's even improved in that route. What do you think about Tony Finau?
I guess I'll be surprising you again. I have Finau to win.
And, wow. Wait, Finau to win. So I was 1 week early, huh? I would love to see that. I would love to see that.
2015, he's never finished outside the top 25 in 6 starts. He has a top 6 result in the last 3 of the last 4 years. He plays his course great. His last 8 rounds here, he's 70, 70, 68, 70, 69, 69, 69, 70. He's the model of consistency.
He is. I mean, we and our buddies
right now, it's hard to argue against him.
We and our buddies had we used to call English what? Top 20 English? Well, he got his win, so I guess he gets to shed that. Is it top 20 Finau now? Does he get to ride the top 20 nickname until he gets the win? Is that what he deserves?
I guess we'll have to see.
I mean, he's more like top 10, right? He's rattled off how many since August? Top 10? He's got 1, 2, 3. He's got 4
He's
top
got 2 in his
10s.
last 3.
I mean, it's amazing. I hope he wins it. I hope your pick is right. Great pick to win the tournament. Great pick, guys. There's no reason not to. And we didn't mention his salary, by the way, but $43 is mispriced. Do you agree?
43 is low. I think he should be up with everybody else, 45 to 47 range, and that's one of the reasons I'll have him rostered.
Correct. I agree. All right, let's move on to none other than can't make the cut at Torrey Pines, X-Man.
So X-Man, I love him. It's a hometown kid. You know, he's born and raised in San Diego. This is his home course, and he has had difficulties there. And, you know, it happens. You get nerves at playing in front of your fans, playing in front of the people, and this is one year that he won't have that. So maybe we'll see a change. It won't be a friends and family gathering for the X-Man. He may be able to focus on golf. And we've seen him. He's been nothing but hot lately. He's tied for 5th at Century. He hasn't played a while before that, but his last appearance before that, he's tied for 17th at the Masters. I think he had one of his best seasons of his career last year. He's somebody who's solid everywhere. Not a lot to pick at him. And I think his best surface is pull-up. And one interesting stat that I want to bring up about X-Man, he has 21 top 25s in his last 23 starts.
I know. It's amazing.
He's a lock to make that top 25. So if you want somebody that's a safe pick at 45, you don't want to take a big risk. Maybe you think the rest of your lineup has big risks in it or it's already solid. I would go X-Man here at $45. He's scoring almost a shade under 90 points a game here. It's going well.
All right, Alex, let me ask you something here, because this is something that I'm considering, and I'm sure others would be considering the same thing. We haven't talked about him yet. We'll talk about him later in ROM. But you've got Xander priced at $45. He's terrible at this tournament. I like that you bring up that there's no fans. Maybe the nerves are a little lower. He's had his best season. All your points are right. So let's say we throw out the tournament history, which hurts my soul to just forget.
I'd like to say this. Let's bring in the tournament history even. In the last 2 years, he's almost had identical rounds to Finau outside of one round. If we remember Finau's rounds I just brought up, these are Xander's last 6, 74, 70, 69, 70, 70, 70. He's almost shooting the exact same as Finau outside of that 74. And I think that's an anomaly for him. He is about the golfer Tony Finau is.
Yeah, or better. What do you would you fade Rom for Xander?
Yeah, and the top end of my lineup that I'm actually looking at right now is going Xander, Finau, Hideki. And I think you're able to access more of that upper 20 range. You can snag somebody like Louis Oosthuizen if you like, or you can access a lot of those $21 to $23 players that we brought up.
Okay, so you think that that's a fair fade to fade Rom coming back from, we don't know the extent of the tweak and just being cautious back issue he had in the gym, and go Xander, who's healthy, and you think he just turns around his course woes?
Absolutely, and I don't see why not for somebody as talented as X-Man with the season he had last year.
I mean, I can't say anything bad about him. I'll say this, it scares me not to roster him at $45. I think that he should be above English and closer to Rory Rom in dollar pricing. And so whenever I fade Xander, I feel like I'm making a very large mistake. But that course history just it sits with me a little wrong. So I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with Xander. I still think that course history is important enough. I'm not sure if it's the fans or what's going on here. It might not fit his eye. Like a lot of courses don't fit a guy's eye like Bubba Watson. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't feel like the safest play spending $45 on him. Besides, obviously, that he's one of the most talented golfers in this field. But yeah, I can't say don't play Xander. I am still a question mark on him. More likely not playing him, but it would be a great fade of Rom if people go Xander. I definitely see that route. And let's just not forget, Xander turned into one of the best putters on the tour last year. he changed some things, and I don't know if it was a coach or even a grip. He changed a few
He
things.
has a new putting coach now,
Yeah,
dedicated to
and
just putting the green.
he was. I was watching this guy drain 20-footers consecutively,
Absolutely.
and it was just Hovland was in his round. I don't know what course it was, but Hovland was sitting there laughing. He was laughing on the green. Like Xander just come up with a 35, bang it. Next hole, 25-footer, banged it. It was lights out. So I'll say that, man. If he comes and his knees aren't shaking from the course history, watch out. Next up, we don't have to go one by one here. We've got English, Rory, and Rahm. Alex, do you have any specific thoughts on let's group Xander, English, Rory, and Rahm together just for fun, funsies, because I think Finau's mispriced, so you'd plug him in. I think he should be rostered close to 100% this week. How do you rank these 1 through 4? Rahm, Rory, English, Xander.
And I think this is how much money you're willing to spend. Now, for my lineups, I'm obviously trying to avoid this section as much as possible so I can squeeze in 340s. But I mean, if you do go and want to rank this top, I would probably go Rahm, English, Rory, Xander. But I'd be most likely to play Xander. I think Xander offers you the highest floor outside of Rahm for $4 cheaper. Everybody else, I think, is a pretty notable risk here. Harry English has a similar course history to Xander. He's not great here. I think a couple strokes separate him in the cut the last couple of years. John Rahm has been extremely solid here. I think it's hard to bet against him, but
obviously he's the betting
$49
favorite.
price ticket. He's only played one tournament this year on the calendar. He did play well at Century, but for me, it's hard to go against Rahm. It's hard to go with him. 49 is too much for me, but I could see why he's done.
So you said floor and upside. So Xander being the best floor out of Rahm in these 4, who's got the highest upside out of Rahm?
I think if you go Rahm and Rory, those two have a clear upside advantage over the 4 grouping. That's a preference pick. For me, I'm going Rahm. A little more solid last year. You do have Rory finishing well in Abu Dhabi. Last week, you mentioned before the chat, going over countries has always been hard for Rory. I think he plays poorly on this side of the ocean. So it's up to you on that take.
Yeah, I mean, Rory traveling and doing all this, I don't know if I'm comfortable going there when Rahm's $1 more, and then when you've got Xander at 45. I think English is one of my favorite players. However, with the $47 price tag, it's a little awkward, and I think that he was priced a little in a weird spot that he shouldn't have been. I think he should be with Hideki and Finau. So I'm fading English entirely. And he's got a complete bag. There, when we talk about these golfers, these are some of the best golfers here. So you really have to make a gut decision and not feel bad about your decision afterwards. If I had to rank the 4 in terms of ceiling, I think it would be Rahm, Xander, Rory, English. And then with their floors, it would probably be Rahm, English, Xander, Rory. So, I mean, I think Xander has such a high upside, but with the tournament history, it kind of hurts his floor a bit. So I would say all these guys are playable. Pick the right one. I know that sounds funny, but no matter what me and Alex say about these guys, any one of them can come out there and get you the W. I do think, though, English won't. So, of those guys, I'd fade him. What do you think about that, fading English just entirely because he's mispriced?
I think English for the price is tough to play, but again, if you want somebody with a higher floor, I do like him over Rory's floor. I think Rory's a hard person to play. He's very variant. If you want to go with somebody like English, I could understand it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, those are all the players that we're covering this week. I know we covered quite a bit there, 19 players. And again, play with this tool if you've got Fantasy National. It's a really cool tool. It'll kind of help you just decipher some of the stats. Alex loves to use the PGA Tour Performance tab on each player to see how they fare in strokes gained in each category for the year instead of per round or per tournament. There are a lot of things you can do. I think this is going to be quite a fun tournament. I can't wait to watch it on TV. And let's go Hideki and Finau, huh? For our picks to win.
Absolutely. I hope the wind's blowing and it's a tough course out there.
Let's cross our fingers. Anyways, guys, as always, it was awesome. We will definitely be back with you guys soon for another NBA video. We'll definitely have an episode 3 coming hopefully this weekend. And whenever you guys stop by, watch the video, like, subscribe is always nice. And as always, Alex loves compliments. We are over and out, you guys. Peace
All right,
out.
guys.